Hi, this is Lara at Elliott Wave Stock Market with your weekly analysis for gold done on Wednesday 3rd of April. I'm recording this video now, 11:15 in the evening New York time on Wednesday the 3rd New York time. My daily wave count remains the same and we're getting an increase in momentum, which is exactly what you'd expect to see as we move towards the middle of a third wave. I expect that downwards momentum will increase further. Coming up in a little bit, we may have a second wave correction, but because we're getting closer to the middle of a third wave, the second wave correction coming up may be shallower than second waves are usually. Targets remain the same. At 1488, minor wave 3 would reach 1.618, the length of minor 1. That target's still at least 2 or 3 weeks away, maybe longer. At intermediate wave 3 will reach 2.618, the length of intermediate 1, at 1431. That target's several weeks away. The target for primary C still months away. At 1398, it would reach equality in length with primary A. Within minute wave 3, no second wave correction may move beyond the start of its first wave. I'm moving the invalidation point down now to 1614.91. Minute wave 3 has to move beyond the end of minute 1, so that core Elliott wave rule is now met, so I can be more confident that this second wave correction is over and we're in a third wave of a third wave of a third wave. Let's have a look at this structure on the hourly chart, where the start of minute wave 3 up here is this point up here. So I was expecting that we were seeing a leading diagonal unfold. That's not what was happening. We had a series of overlapping first and second waves. We do have a leading diagonal, but it's smaller. Subminuet wave 1 is a leading expanding diagonal. Subminuet 2, a regular flat, where A and C are extremely close to equality. Subminuet wave 3 has begun here with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not certain that 5 is over, but there is a nice Fibonacci ratio here. The fifth wave is close to equality with the first. The fifth wave is close to 0.618, the length of the third wave, which is reasonably close to 2.618, the length of the first wave. So there's some reasonably decent Fibonacci ratios in here, which makes me think that we may have seen the middle of a third wave unfold here. Just start again. Feck. Is this point up here? I had expected in my last analysis that we were seeing a larger leading diagonal unfold. That's not the case. This stronger downwards movement is not the last wave of the diagonal, but there is a diagonal in here for a first wave, a leading expanding diagonal up here. There's a flat correction here where waves A and C are very close to equality, and this looks pretty obviously like where a third wave has begun. We see an increase in downwards momentum as indicated by MACD towards this piece of movement. My only query about this wave count is this fourth wave over, or is this fifth wave at micro degree, which began here, is this extending lower? I'm labelling it as over here because there's a nice Fibonacci ratio if it is over here. Microwave 3 is 2.85 longer than 2.618, the length of microwave 1, and microwave 5, if it's over here, if it's not extending, is 1.65 short of 0.618, the length of microwave 3. So with that nice ratio, and it all looks likely that it could be over there, I'll label it as such. But that means that subminuet wave 4 is hugely out of proportion to subminuet wave 2. That does not violate any Elliott wave rule, it just makes the wave count look a bit odd. But sometimes fourth and second waves, particularly if one of them is a longer lasting flat correction and the other one's a zigzag, sometimes they just aren't nicely in proportion. We could be seeing the fifth wave extend. This could be just submicro 1 and 2 with submicro 3 of micro 5, and subminuet wave 3 may move lower. If the fifth wave began here, then at 1533 it would reach equality in length with the first wave. And because there's no Fibonacci ratio between the first and third waves at subminuet degree, a ratio between the fifth wave and one of the first or third is pretty likely. I'll be expecting more downwards movement, the target 1533, before we see a second wave correction. Because we're getting towards the middle of a third wave, of a third wave, of a third wave, there may be enough downwards pull to skew and shorten second wave corrections to being more shallow than they are usually. When minuet wave 1 is complete, draw a Fibonacci retracement along its length and look out for the 0.382 Fibonacci ratio as your first guide to where the upwards correction may end. If price moves through that and goes higher, the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio would be the next target. In the interim, if subminuet wave 4 is not over here, if it's moving sideways as a flat correction, then it can't move back into wave 1 price territory above 1589.9. When minuet wave 1 is complete and we have a second wave correction begin, the invalidation point will move up to the start of this movement at 1616.66. I think gold has begun in the early stages of the middle of a third wave. As it gets further towards the middle, we should see yet a further increase in downwards momentum. Any surprises should be to the downside, and corrections should be probably briefer and shallower than usual as we move closer to that middle. In the interim, before we get there, we've got a little second wave correction coming up, which may be shallower than second waves are usually, and may be a bit briefer. That's all for me today with your gold analysis, and I hope that everyone is having a fabulous day.